All right, welcome back to the MMA Mobsters. Guys, we are coming to you live on a Saturday morning because we had all kinds of technical difficulties last night or yesterday afternoon, Friday, so we apologize on that. But anyway, MMA Mobsters, of course, brought to you by Dimene.com, cellsavers.org, and grapplersclash.com. And as always, I'm joined by the Chosen one, Joshua Choven. And I just have to say, Joshua, that, last week, basically, you almost died. You fell off a roof, you broke both your ankles, and now you're in a hospital, hotel housing situation because you're getting ready for surgery on your ankles. And I got to tell you, and that near death experience obviously has changed you. Your wardrobe today is, and we caught wind. Josh didn't even tell us that he had joined
Oh
the
boy.
Halal's Angels
Yes.
biker
Yes.
gang,
Yes.
standing up against
Yes.
injustice and things like that. So,
Yes.
congratulations to you on joining the new biker gang, the Jewish biker gang,
Mhm.
and we love you. We love you. We're glad you're still here.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't be the first person to join a gang in a halfway house just to survive, and we do what we got to do out here on the streets, Pat. But
I
yeah,
mean,
that's
what's it like when the biker gang that you're in tours around and goes into bars and asks for kosher food?
yeah.
How's that
Well, we
work
we
out for
asked
you
for
guys?
handicap parking, then kosher food. We're some scary motherfuckers.
Oh dear God, help me. Well,
And you
look,
better not piss us off, or we will sue the pants off you. So
that's beautiful, dude.
some
That's
biker
beautiful.
gangs have chains in their back seats. We have lawyers in our. So.
All right. On a serious note, let's let's cover a little bit about last week
Let's do it.
and the. Uh, I mean, it was a great fight card.
It was
Quite
the
a
best. It
spectacle,
was
of
one of the
course.
best ever. Yeah.
Yeah, great card. It was definitely a spectacle, to say the least. And I felt a little bad. I didn't do great on this card. 5 out of 7, I think it was, which is a lower percentage than we normally hit. But maybe you did a little better. Tell me about your numbers
Yeah,
and
I
how you
wouldn't
did
say five
overall.
out of seven. I wouldn't say 5 out of 7 is bad. That's 3.5 would be 500. So, yeah, I got just about every. I think I got every fight right because I did. I told you I was really torn on the Gon Pereira fight and ended up going with Gon right before the fight started. And then the line movement was just too much for me in the main event. I did have a pretty big Ilya bet. I ended up canceling that because I couldn't, in good conscience, bet a guy whose line had dropped 300 points. And then I put a fun little $200 bet on Gaethje that was plus 350 that I got him at. If I would have been ballsier, I could have got Justin at like plus 500 earlier in the week. But I waited until literally the walkouts, and the line movement had just hit a point of no return. So I cashed out my Ilya bets, put a fun little bet on Justin, and for the first 2 rounds, it looked like I'd made a mistake. And then Gaethje just rallied. I mean, I'll get your take on the fight, but Gaethje was just too tough. And we
Yeah,
finally saw Ilya, who had gotten every guy out of there basically in the first 2 rounds. We finally saw him look human, and that's the second superhuman UFC champion we've seen look human lately. We saw it happen with Kamzat, and I think just no guy is invincible. No
no,
man
no doubt.
walking this earth is invincible, and it's kind of crazy to see someone who hasn't really looked human finally look human. What did you think?
Uh, well, I mean, unless I'd like to rewind down to the beginning of the card, and I'm looking now
Sure,
at my scratch sheet
that's
here,
fine.
and I actually I know we were on the fence, or I was on the fence with Lopez and Garcia, and I've got in my notes here, and maybe maybe Lee can check for me. I don't know if my final I thought I picked Lopez. Um,
I think you did too, and I was leaning the Garcia side, so I did get that one wrong.
so I mean, both guys getting after it and throwing kind of recklessly, and that those things are going to happen. Lopez is a pretty powerful guy, so he landed some hard shots. Then we went to Bo Nickel against Dawkins, and we were talking. Basically, Dawkins was handpicked for Nickel to look good in that fight, which pretty much turned out to be the case, right?
Yeah, you'd give you props. You were far more bullish on Bo Nickel than I was. I said a half unit bet. I really liked parlaying him with Tokit. That worked out, but I said be careful because we're still not sure how good Bo Nickel is. You said that Dawkins was handpicked for him to run over. It certainly looks like it, man. Bo Nickel took him down, was was kept advancing position for some reason. The referee stood it up, and Bo cracked him and put him down. So it literally looked almost like a. I don't think it was a setup fight, but he looked so good. It looked almost fake. So good for him, showing dominance, wrestling, and striking all in the first round. So maybe this is future champion Bo Nickel. Who knows?
Yeah. And then we went on to Mauricio Hoofy against Michael Chandler, and we were both pretty solid on the fact that Hoofy was really going to be a difficult, pretty big lift for Chandler, considering Chandler is at the twilight of his career. He's had so many wars. I mean, the guy has absolutely been a warrior his whole career, but running into the young gun, Hoofy is a big guy in that weight division, very rangy, and he proved that he's extremely dangerous in that fight, right?
Also, shout out to your guy Alexander Volkanovski. That's Volkanovski's first fight as head cornerman, head coach. Volkanovski, not only world champion over at featherweight, he's now 1-0 coaching UFC fights. So good for him.
Yeah, and then Derek Lewis and Josh Hokett. Quite what a fight by Hokett, and we had Hokett certainly clearly picked that he was going to win. You know, you can never tell with heavyweights, especially a guy like Derek Lewis who has the power that he has. But we both picked Hokett in that one, and Hokett actually got to the point where he was clowning the crowd when he went for the armbar. He was deliberately, you could tell he was just clowning the crowd and screaming and yelling and doing the armbar incorrectly. I mean, all the above. Like he was really clowning everybody. He was clowning Derek Lewis.
Yeah. Yeah, Hokett was my most confident bet of the week. Never feel great going against Derek Lewis. He's about as live an underdog as they get, but it was a small card. And yeah, it was my most confident fight. And Hokett really never looked like he wasn't winning the fight. He showed it all. He showed, man, those hands are quick, man. Those hands are very quick. He probably, if he lost a little weight, could be a light heavyweight, but his chances are probably better off in the heavyweight division. He has speed, he has wrestling, and it's going to be title shot next for Josh Hokett. I would very much bet that Hokett's next fight will be against Cyril Gahn, who we'll get to in a few minutes for the heavyweight title. I mean, he made some politically incorrect comments after the fight, which you had to know was probably coming. And everyone can act offended as much as they want. It'll just make him more popular. Josh Hokett, it's his world. We're just living in it, and look for him in a title fight against Cyril Gahn coming to you soon.
Yeah, Hokett has injected some lunacy and some excitement into the heavyweight division, to say
Well
the
said.
least. So,
Well said.
and the heavyweight division, we've said for a long time, is very very weak in comparison to years past. So
Yep.
Hokett, a much needed injection into the heavyweight division. Okay, moving on to Sean O'Malley and Zahabi. I thought Zahabi might pull off. This was one that I thought he might pull off an upset, but literally 30 seconds into this fight, I said, "There's no way Zahabi can win this fight." O'Malley is just he's such a higher level athlete than Zahabi. Zahabi's footwork, he was crossing his legs left and right, moving around the ring. He looked terrified. literally 30 seconds in, I went, he's toast. He's literally toast. O'Malley's going to smoke this kid. And what are your thoughts when you were observing that fight?
Yeah, I mean, it to me, it was really kind of embarrassing for the whole Zahabi camp because you've got all this hype behind you. You just beat the great Jose Aldo, and you've added many other impressive names to that list. And now it's Sean O'Malley. You get past him, we're talking a legitimate title shot. So you've got the great Faraz Zahabi coaching his brother. You've got GSP as your assistant coach. You've got so much wisdom over there in your corner, and you put so much work into this fight. At least I would think so. And your game plan is just clearly to spam leg kicks, and you're showing that you're throwing leg kicks. You're literally just staring right at O'Malley's chicken legs and kicking him. The game plan couldn't be more obvious, and it just seemed like such a elementary game plan that O'Malley figured out quickly and absolutely smoked him there in the second round. It's one of the greatest walk-off KOs I've ever seen. He dropped him. Zahabi gets up. He drops him again, and then O'Malley knows he's out, immediately goes into a salute. And it takes Herzog a good few seconds after that to even stop the fight. One of the greatest walk-off KOs I've ever seen. Salute to you, Sean O'Malley, indeed.
Yeah, and the thing is, for us, Zahabi and GSP, all those guys being in his corner, nonetheless, my problem was just his fundamentals were so bad with his footwork and stuff like that. I don't like to be overly critical, but when your footwork is that messed up, something has gone wrong. The fundamentals just weren't there, and you can't move like that and expect to do anything against a guy at the level of O'Malley. You simply can't. And so I like the first thing, like 101, how to move in MMA or in a combat situation, a fight situation. The footwork is always first. Like I don't even teach people how to throw a punch until their footwork and their head moves correctly, and then they start to learn a jab. You know what I mean? So I just yeah. So for me, instantly it was the fight was already over. So I kind of feel bad for Zahabi in that fight because he got chewed up and spit out pretty quick. So anyway, all right, enough on that. Alex Pereira against Cyril Gahn. We had Gahn in that one. I just felt like Gahn was just naturally such a bigger guy, and that Pereira might have trouble hurting him. So it proved actually to be the truth. Although Pereira is pretty frustrated and doing quite a public speaking tour on how he was fouled so many times after the knockdown. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I wanted to get your thoughts on that. I'll just say for Gahn, I'll give you credit again, Pat. I was kind of leaning Pereira, but after talking about it with you, I said I'll likely be in the Gahn camp come Sunday, and I was. It was a smaller bet. It was essentially a pick 'em. But my reasoning was, what's Alex Pereira's path to victory? Well, it's a knockout. That's how he's won literally every fight that he's won in the UFC. He doesn't go to decision. He obviously doesn't wrestle. Well, Gahn's never been knocked out, so this is kind of a rock meeting a hard place here. It was a little disturbing, I think, to see the great Alex Pereira get boxed up and do what Alex Pereira does to everyone else. There's levels to this game. There's a reason there's the weight classes exist. Gahn looked a little cartoonish. His butt was huge. Not that I'm one to talk, but he looked almost cartoonish in this evolution to heavyweight that they put together in about 6 months. Do you think Pereira should go back down to light heavy? Because that seems like his more natural weight class.
I think he should. I think he looked pretty bloated at heavyweight, to be honest with you.
Yes.
And you got to hand it to the guy. I mean, 185-pound world champ, 205 world champ, and then going for heavyweight. You got to reach. You got to reach for the stars, man, and he did. So hats off to him for giving it a shot. But he definitely belongs at 205. He's still very fast. Uh, has much better endurance, I'm sure, and is going to have plenty of power to hurt the 205ers. For a couple years to come, to say the least. Um, but as far as his Pereira talking about, the fouls and stuff, there were definitely some fouls. I mean, at the elbows and some other stuff that was going on there. Definitely some fouls. The referee probably should have stepped in pretty quickly and stopped that, or at least verbally warned him a lot more, and then stood him up. As those strikes did not change direction, but it is what it is. He got dropped with a jab, right?
Got folded like a lawn chair with a jab, Pat. And I don't know. Well, I kind of know, but for some reason, Gon just keeps getting away with this. Gon is apparently an evil genius and has figured out that, okay, so I initially will hurt my opponent. Then my opponent will go into a frenzy, turn his back to me, whatever. And then as soon as I see the back of the head, I will target the back of the head. But the fight's in such a bar fight kind of state that they can't say I'm doing it intentionally. Well, if it quacks like a duck and looks like a duck and hits you in the back of the head like a duck, it's probably a duck. This happens every fight with him. And you culminate that with people are getting more and more frustrated with the once great Herb Dean seems to keep messing these fights up. So it's kind of these two things happening at once. It's a little bit different to see the badass alpha male Alex Pereira really going the more legal route, calling for not only Herb Dean to be suspended, but Herb Dean to face criminal action. What do you think? Because that seems a little extreme, but if I don't know. You sign on the dotted line to fight, but you also want the refs to do their job. Rules exist for a reason. I guess I could see both sides of the argument. What about you?
Fighting's not a very forgiving sport. If you get dropped, you should probably expect things to go wrong a little further unless you can get your shit together. So that's just the way it is. All right, moving on to the main event, Topuria versus Gaethje. One of the greatest fights and probably comebacks, in recent history for sure. I picked Topuria in this fight simply because Gaethje can get wild. His defense can be pretty spread out, and that he was going to get potentially picked apart by Topuria, which proved to be the case early on. Topuria had him hurt, a couple times pretty badly. Strategic mistakes by Topuria going to the ground with him, and hey, when you're Ilia Topuria and you've run through legends like he has, why would he expect anything different after he's hurt and dropped Gaethje the way that he did, right?
Yeah, we continue to marvel at Justin Gaethje. How many times are we going to doubt this guy? Tony Ferguson's like a minus 300 favorite against him. He smokes him as a huge underdog. Paddy Pimblett's like a minus 400 favorite. He smokes Paddy, and Ilya opens up as like a minus 900 favorite, which was little ridiculous. Closes at like minus 500. And Gaethje beats the guy who looks unbeatable. I mean, good for him. He said some interesting things, Pat, and I wanted to get your take on this. They said something about what has happened to you as a fighter, because you've obviously grown up. You evolved. When you first came in, it was, I want to get in a war, and I'm going to win some, I'm going to lose some, but goddamn, you're going to watch every time. He said, leading up to this fight, they're like, what are your emotions? He's like, I don't have emotions anymore. This sport has killed all my emotions. It's just survive, kill or be killed, and I'm honestly fine with that. I don't feel anything when I get in there. Is that the way? Is that how you become a champion fighter, by killing your emotions, or what do you think about that?
Yeah, you really have to, and more than anything, you have to recognize that everybody's coming after you, especially once you become a champion. So the target's on you. And Matt Hughes, excuse me, Matt Hughes said it best. You walk on the bodies of the dead to get to the top in that sport, and that's really the truth, because you ruin a lot of people's dreams. When you're beating people and they have dreams of being where you are and things like that. And so, it's a dog eat dog world, and you have to be very selfish. And Rob Common, one of the great Dutch kickboxers, God rest his soul, Rob Common, who was one of the first guys, if not the first, to go to Thailand and win stadium championships in Muay Thai over there. I had a talk with him literally by accident. I was in South Beach, Miami at the time with my wife, laying on the beach in South Beach. And I looked over, and there's Rob Common laying on the beach 10 yards from me. And I said, Rob Common? And he looks over and he knew who I was. And we started talking. And this is something that he said to me was, um, I asked him if he was still coaching. And he said, no, I retired from that. He goes, one thing that I learned is fighters are tigers. They're takers, not givers. So that's the mentality you have to have. And it
Hmm.
stuck with me. It really stuck with me. He's a very
That's good.
wise guy and probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, Dutch Muay Thai fighters in history. So, yeah,
Yeah.
pretty cool conversation.
Oh, Pat, I think you muted yourself. Some
Where does Tapuria go from here with the loss?
I'm not sure about Topuria. He won't get an immediate rematch. I don't understand why people are clamoring for it. Remember, he hasn't even defended his lightweight belt. He did win the featherweight title against Volkanovski, defend against Max, which is very impressive. He then jumped to lightweight, beat Oliveira, and then dealt with some family court issues, and just came back. So I don't care who you are. You can't give a guy an immediate title shot who hasn't even defended that belt. So, but what you can do, and this is set up as a dream scenario for Justin Gaethje. So, Justin Gaethje is hinting at retirement. Why is he doing that? That gives him all the leverage because Justin Gaethje will not retire. Justin Gaethje will not fight Ilya in the rematch. Justin Gaethje will not fight Armin Sarukian. I don't know why everyone else hasn't figured this out yet. Justin Gaethje is going to fight the winner of Max Holloway, Conor McGregor. That is clearly what the UFC is doing here. Remember, that fight happens in 2-3 weeks from now. So that fight will happen. It looks like Conor will not pull out. We are getting Conor McGregor back in our lives for better or for worse. Now, Max is expected to win that fight. I sure hope he does. I have a lot of money on him. If Max Holloway does hold serve, win that fight, Justin Gaethje gets his revenge. This guy supposedly ended your career. He put you out cold like no one's ever put you out after dominating you for most of that fight. This is a perfect farewell fight for Justin Gaethje. If he beats me again, I need to be done. Maybe I get my revenge. And the Disney storybook ending continues to write himself. If Conor McGregor does shock the world and beat Max Holloway, well, then Conor McGregor, Justin Gaethje is going to be the biggest fight of all time. Buckle up. Either way, Justin Gaethje will fight the winner of Conor McGregor, Max Holloway. I'm about
Gaethje's sitting,
99% sure.
Gaethje's sitting better than he's ever been sitting.
Yes.
That's a given there. So yeah, okay, beautiful, something to look forward to in the future here for sure.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens with the good old McGregor story. And if the fight, I swear to God, dude, if the fight even happens, I mean,
We're like, what? Maybe you can check for us, Lee. Are we 2 or 3 weeks away? I think we're 2 weeks away. Yeah. Lee can check for us. But do you see the vision with my matchmaking, Pat? Do you think I'm crazy, or do you
no,
see the vision?
it's perfect. And here's the thing: MMA is notorious for not building fights worth a shit. It's just okay, reload the gun and just fire the top guys over and over, and
Yes.
never and not building. Boxing in the 80s and the 90s, and boxing was amazing at when is this fight going to happen? When is this fight going to happen? They keep fighting other guys, and they build to a crescendo, and then the big names would finally fight each other. That sort of stuff would happen. MMA just has been horrible about building. It's just so, yeah, the fight's July 11th coming up here, so 3 weeks away. Thank you, Lee. But ultimately, this story built itself literally by accident without the UFC's planning, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that you got to give the UFC a little bit of credit. If we had Hunter Campbell, sitting on the other line doing an interview, he'd want a little bit of credit, I'm sure. But yeah, I think that you look at the leadership of the UFC, Pat, and they give us duds, like when they schedule Volkanovski to beat up Diego Lopez for the third time, and it's like, what are we doing here? And then they seem to, whether it's by accident or on purpose, they tend to strike gold. For instance, you mentioned who Ilya fights next, Paddy Pimblett. These two guys historically hate each other. you could put Ilya Topuria,
I
Paddy
don't know if
Pimblett
I'm
in the main
glitching or if
event.
Josh is glitching.
And okay, well let's just keep on rolling. Yeah, I mean you're looking at Ilya for a bounce back fight. He gets Paddy Pimblett, who he hates more than anyone in the world. That sounds pretty good to me.
Okay. All right. So enough of that. Let's move on to this week, or unless you have anything else you want to talk about before we
No,
go
we
over this
can
week's card,
we can
today's
get into
card.
Horiguchi, Manel Kape.
Yeah. All right. Starting at the bottom of the card, Shane Collins against Otari Tanzalovi. Tanzalovi 10-1, 0-1 in the Contender Series against the 7-0 Shane Collins. How do you see this fight breaking down? Who's favored? Where's the money moving?
Well, I will tell you, Pat Militech, it's the Shane Collins fight. Kick us off, right? Is that what you said?
Yes. Yes.
All right, look at the line on Shane Collins here. A little bit of line movement for him. He opens up at minus 180 on Caesar Sportsbook. He's now minus 220. Bet Rivers opened up at minus 170. He's also minus 220 over there. So a little bit of good line movement in the right direction for Shane Collins. Now, listen, these are two not super well known guys. We go from arguably the biggest MMA card of all time, which, by the way, how lucky are we this year? We were talking about Khamzat Strickland, best MMA card of all time, maybe. The UFC White House. Now we're saying that. The Netflix card wasn't the greatest card ever in MMA, but it was pretty freaking cool. So we're getting a smorgasbord of fights here. I'm going to
Sure.
lean Collins to kick off the card. It's not with a ton of confidence because we don't know a ton about either guy. I would love to have more fight footage, more fight history on these guys, but give me Shane Collins probably a half a unit to get the favorite winning the first fight of the night.
Okay. And Otari Tanzalovi, 0-1 in the Contender Series, and then getting on the undercard of an actual UFC. We've seen this numerous times where
The
people
Pretender
haven't done well.
Series.
What's that?
The
Yes, the
Pretender
Pretender.
Series.
This fight to me is a toss-up. Both guys have had at least competitive competition on their way up, and the one decision loss for Otari, doesn't tarnish him a lot. Yeah, to me, it's a toss-up. I mean, either guy could win this as easily. So I'm not even heavily leaning towards either one of them. And if I was betting money, I wouldn't bet on this fight. Just I wouldn't. All right, moving on to Carol Rosa against Luana Santos. What are your thoughts on this fight?
I've
I
never
mean,
been a big I've never been a big Carol Hosa fan. She seems to always underwhelm. The tools are there, man. She's fairly rangy. She seems to have the prototype, the athletic build to be maybe a poor woman's Valentina Shevchenko. She's should be well rounded here, but always seems to underwhelm a bit when she gets into the octagon. She'll be fighting another Brazilian here in Luana Santos. The line's creeping in the direction of Santos. This is your classic female fight where either girl could win. I think Santos, despite the fact that she opened as an underdog, has rightfully flipped to favorite. Usually, when underdog flips to favorite, ATM noises are going off in my head, and I love it. I'm not that confident. Obviously, I have to pick Santos because she's an underdog flip to favorite. But there's a lot of question marks in this fight, as there often is with women's MMA, especially when they're similarly matched. Give me Santos, though. I'm never not going to pick an underdog flip to favorite, even if it was a small move.
yeah, and I understand that logic. And one thing I will say, about Hosa, I call her Rosa because I speak English, and the R's aren't silent in
What
English.
was it last? Hoofy. Hoofy, yeah. Hoofy last.
Roofie. His name's Roofie. His name's Roofie in America, bro. Uh, I I have I've had Brazilians live with me and train with me and stuff, and I love Brazilians, but I've always joked around about the silent R stuff. So anyway, um, yeah, I mean, I can give you that bet on Santos for the logic of the math and everything else. Close enough fight for that to make it worthwhile. Osa's got 13 wins by decision, 2-2 on the ground. Santos undefeated on the ground at 5-0. Certainly has the edge on the ground against Rosa. So yeah, I'll go with Santos with you on that one. All right, Shabazian versus Shokeli. Levon 4-3 in Bellator coming into the UFC, and then Shabazian is 0-1 in the Contender Series, 12-4 overall. Competition for Shabazian has been, you know, not great, and Shokeli on the other side is the competition's been okay. You know what I mean? So throw out what your thoughts are on this.
Yeah, I call him Chokely. I'm not sure if that's the correct pronunciation or not. But yeah, Levon Chokely's a good fighter, man. I certainly bet him over in Bellator, and he's shown the goods, I think, to be competitive in any MMA or organization. Leon Shabazian, I believe, is the brother of Edmund Shabazian, who is the eternally disappointing contender at 185, who finally got about a fight away from a title shot, and Brendan Allen took care of that. So, um, not much respect for Leon Shabazian here as Chokely opened up at minus 335. He's now about minus 390. Will probably be minus 400 by the time the fight happens later today. I think Chokely's just too much for him, man. I think Shabazian shares a lot of his brother's weaknesses. I look for Chokely to really make this fight look easy, and he's going to be one of my favorite parlay pieces on the card.
Yeah, I'm rolling with Chokely as well. A little more experience at a higher level. You know, even though it was Bellator and still only 4-3, I think he's got the edge in this fight. Both guys coming in at 4-1, so I'll give you that one. All right, moving on to Gaston Balomas against Michael Aswell. You know, the odds, I did look this up because I've always liked Gaston Balomas. I called his Muay Thai fights very exciting fighter, very talented striker. But he hasn't, you know, he's batting 500 in the UFC. Um, I guess what you would expect out of most kickboxers that come into MMA. But he's extremely dangerous standing up. What are your thoughts on the Aswell Balonis fight?
Yeah, the book on Gaston Bolaños is "Don't Let Him Hit You." Don't let him hit you square because he does have pop. Outside of that God-given pop and ability to render men unconscious, he has holes in his game. So you got to survive that first round against Gaston Bolaños. After that, it'll be a little bit easier journey. As well, opened up at minus 400 on Caesars. He's minus 430 now. This is a bit disrespectful to Gaston Bolaños. Michael Aswell has not shown me anything to show he deserves to be a minus 420 favorite against, I think, any UFC fighter. So, bit disrespectful to Bolaños. Aswell is expected to cruise here. Something in the tea leaves just isn't sitting right with me. So, Aswell will be my pick. As of right now, I'm not betting this fight. Something seems a little goofy to me. So, yeah.
Okay, so you know the way I look at this, and you know, Balonis 6-1 in the KO area in his MMA career, Aswell 6-0. Aswell has no submission wins or losses, and Balonis is 0-3 on the ground, showing, you know, he comes from a striking, more of a striking gym out in California. It's not known for, you know, great superior grappling, to be honest with you. But the way these guys are matching up, the way I'm looking at this, that Balonis could actually pull off a pretty big upset here as far as the odds go. So I'm going to go with Balonis on this one. I think he might have a really good chance of pulling off a victory here, just given Aswell's attributes and statistics, and that this may be a fight that stays standing, and I give Balonis the edge there. So,
I
all
like
right,
it, Pat. And yeah, like I said, there's something about this fight that seems off. If you gave me $100 and told me I had to bet it on this fight, I would probably go with the Aswell side, just because. I mean, I'm sorry, I would go with the underdog in Gaston. Obviously, it's a much bigger payout. I like it. I like the underdog here.
okay, all right. Going on to Rapazo and Nascimento. Nascimento 4-1 in the UFC, 22-6 overall. What do the odds say as far as these guys? Because Rapazo's 1-2 in the UFC, 10-3 overall. I don't know. What do you think of that? Nascimento is way better on the ground.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting correlation of events here with Mitch Raposo. Mitch Raposo had lost his first two UFC fights, lost them somewhat unanimously. And so it was do or die. And he got some Eastern European prospect and made him look silly. Really won the vast majority of that fight, won all 3 rounds. That kid has had some weird stuff going on. Maybe Lee can look up his name, but I know because it cost me money. It was the Tom Aspinall Cyril Gahn card. This is one of the opening fights, and Raposo's a massive underdog. His opponent had started out at like minus 400, closed at minus 700. Everything was lining up for Raposo to get dominated once again, and he did show up. I think it was more so his opponent didn't show up. So, how good is Mitch Raposo? Alan Nascimento has certainly looked very good. He seems to have the wrestling, the striking, the whole entire bag. He's actually been very impressive. If he wins this fight, a title shot is not too far off for Alan Nascimento. The line movement doesn't agree. He opened up at minus 205. He's minus 175 now. It's not a massive dip, but it ain't going in the right direction. I'm going to lean Alan Nascimento line movement be damned, but Mitch Raposo as a plus 450 underdog in his last fight certainly taught us to put some respect on his name. So I'm going to lean Nascimento here, but don't count Raposo out.
Yeah, and I'm leaning with you on Nascimento. I just his ground skills are just far and above that of Raposo, so I'm leaning toward Nascimento as well. All right, Mosquito versus Mullins, number 19 versus number 20 in the world at 135 pounds. I know which way I'm leaning pretty easily. Tell me your thoughts.
Bia Mesquita versus Melissa Mullins. Those are two fantastic fighter names, ladies.
Mesquita. I'm having some trouble with the connection. Please try again in a moment.
My computer's yelling at me. I apologize. Yeah, Bia Mesquita opened up at minus 600 on Caesar Sportsbook. She is minus 650 now. When I look at Melissa Mullins, I see somewhat of an underwhelming career, strength of opponent, and all that stuff. Give me Mosquito here. She certainly looks to be the more powerful, the more athletic, the higher ceiling. So I will do only one unit because women fights make me nervous. But give me one unit, a little bit of a parlay piece for minus 650. Bia Mesquita. It looks like you can get her the best odds. You can actually get her minus 550 over at Betway Sportsbook. So do a little bit of odd shopping. Get your best odds. Bia Mesquita certainly should win as a prohibitive female favorite here, but it's women's MMA. Be careful.
Yeah, I'm pulling Bia Mosquito for by submission. What's the odds on that?
Let's go. In a particular round or just at some point in the fight?
Some point in the fight.
I will give you the odds on that, or Lee will. All right, Bia Mosquito.
Minus something.
Mosquito by KO is plus 500.
Really?
Mosquito by submission is minus 100. So that is double your money. And the sports bettors like that, Pat, because Mosquito by submission was plus 130 on FanDuel. Now it's minus 120. So there's some guys with some cheddar who agree with you on the Mosquito by decision drop, by submission.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's go on to Borges against Lima. Lima's 4-0 in the UFC. Odds are probably reflecting in comparison. Borges being 1-4 in the UFC, 10-5 overall. Lima undefeated at 11-0. What's the odds on this fight?
Yeah, so Lima opened up at minus 800 on FanDuel, which was a little extreme. He's about minus 630 now. Same on Caesar. It's opened up at minus 700 and he's minus 650 now. I like Lima. I've bet on Lima before and won. I don't think he's lost in the UFC, but Borjas is a name. I'm a little surprised that Borjas is such a massive underdog here. The line is creeping a little bit in the Borjas direction, but not much. Give me Lima here. We just, as Pat and I discussed yesterday, someone missed weight here, and the fight was in danger of being canceled, but they settled on a catch weight. Which of the two missed weight? Do we have that?
Was it Lima? Is that what you're
I know
saying?
that you texted me the article yesterday, so I'm sure Lee can pull that up. But
Now I'm trying to remember here.
yeah, we'll figure out here. But anyway, Lima is now hanging around the minus 650 mark. So people thought that, minus 700 was a little bit high, but not that high because they've only knocked him back about 50 points. I look for Lima. I look for Lima to cruise here. And regardless of whether he's the one who missed weight or did it, I
Bor-
look for Lima to cruise
Boris,
here.
Boris, Boris missed weight by 3 pounds.
Okay, so that's even more reason to like Lima here. What does that say to you, Pat? Because obviously nobody wants to miss weight. That means they're gonna take a chunk out of your purse, and then you're essentially on probation for your next couple fights. Whereas if you miss weight again, you're in very much danger of being cut. As far as from a history of betting, if a guy misses weight, I don't necessarily X him out and be like he's going to lose because he couldn't make weight. There's a lot of moving pieces in this stuff. It's not great, but what do you think about that? Does that send off signals to you that a fighter's not prepared? Maybe Kevin Borjas is having medical issues, or maybe it's just a little bit of laziness, not wanting to cut that weight. What do you think?
It's just lack of commitment. It's lack of commitment and professionalism and all those things. So there's, I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And I'm just saying that, you know, I never missed weight in wrestling, in kickboxing, in MMA. I just never missed weight. And our guys, I think I had one guy miss weight who got a fight last minute with like 4 days uh, notice, and he missed weight by like 1 or 2 pounds. And it was a horrible cut. Nobody missed weight. We worked the weight off, and that's just what we did.
Hmm.
So it's just lack of commitment. And maybe at 1-4 in the UFC, his record is reflective of his lack of commitment, right?
I
So
would agree. I would agree with all that.
that's just the way I look at it. Okay, moving on to Oliveira against Feely. What are your thoughts on these two guys? Feely 13-12 in the UFC, batting 500, had a million fights in the UFC, spent most of his career, a lot of his career in the UFC, and Oliveira 4-1, 4-1 coming into this fight, his last five. Both have had pretty solid competition coming up. What are your thoughts on the matchup and where are the numbers at?
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is Vinicius Oliveira's first fight at 145. He was kind of
Yep,
weight
coming up from
bullying.
Bantam. Coming up from
Yeah,
Bantam,
he
yeah.
was he was weight bullying people, and I believe it was earlier this year where we liked him. He finally got a main event, but we saw problems with the gas tank, and he had really it was almost. I mean, there is an advantage to weight bullying, but he was really just weight bullying guys, and then got a little bit of a wake up call. Didn't want to cut that crazy amount of weight anymore. So now Andre Feely, the UFC veteran, he's been in the UFC for goddamn near 10 years. Welcomes Vinicius Oliveira. Oliveira opened up at minus 240. He's minus 305 now. Minus 225. He's minus 275 now. You know what, man? I got to be careful with this. I was watching highlights from last week, and I loved it when you gave me a hard time saying I was taking the side of the casual better, taking the side of the weekend warrior. But man, I'm having such a hard time getting Vinicius Oliveira's last fight out of my head. He looked like he quit. There's so many question marks there. I know it's a new dawn. I know it's a new day. I know it's a new weight class. I know it's a new fight. But Andre Touchy Feely is no joke, man. He's been around forever. He's going to give him a hard fight. Vinicius Oliveira, will that crazy power translate up a weight class? This is just, there's so many question marks here. I don't want to bet this fight. Once again, if I have to bet it, give me the underdog and Andre Feely. There's too many question marks with Vinicius Oliveira. What do you think?
I think Oliveira's power at the lower weight division is going to transfer up into this one. I think, his last fight was indicative of, he was being told by the fight gods that you don't belong at this weight division. You're sucking wind. You're hurting. Um, and psychologically, that gets to be a real drag on a fighter. Struggling through weight cuts and just making life miserable. I think Oliveira comes in and does well in this fight. I give him the edge. And yeah, I think he pulls out the victory. So I'll go with Oliveira here, and that's my final word. All right.
Did you
Adversary,
do much
go ahead.
jumping weight classes, Pat, or was it pretty much always 170 for you?
Well, I mean, early in my career, it was 8-man tournaments. One night 8-man tournaments with no weight division and stuff like that. So I didn't need to worry about my weight at that point. I was walking around probably 185. Fighting in those. But, when John Peretti, and the thing that's interesting, and this is important for people for history and history's sake, that Iowa was actually the first state to sanction the sport of MMA. They rewrote history in a lot of ways. New Jersey was not the first state. Iowa was the first state. Monty Cox, who was my manager at the time, and Larry Dawson, who was the Iowa State Athletic Commissioner at the time, a year prior to this, at an event in Moline, Illinois, where we filled the mark of the Quad Cities with, 10,000 fans for a fight. Larry Dawson was there viewing ringside, and I asked him, I said, "What's the chances of this being sanctioned in Iowa?" And he said, "A snowball's chance in hell." And then Monty Cox, who was the biggest boxing promoter in the state of Iowa, said, "I'm not promoting boxing anymore. I'm doing MMA." And he said, "Okay, you and Pat write the rules for the state of Iowa, and we'll sanction it, and we'll do it." And so Monty Cox and I wrote the first rules, the real rules for modern MMA, and it was sanctioned in the state of Iowa. So I'm
Well
just
done.
I was getting yeah. So just so people understand the real history, as it's been rewritten, a lot of that's bullshit. So, and
Yeah.
then John Peretti, getting back to my weight stuff, John Peretti then implemented the 170-pound division in the UFC, following what Monty and I did. And so that's kind of how that went down. So John Peretti was the guy then for the UFC that created the 155, 170, those types of weight divisions and rules and rounds and all that sort of stuff. So that's how history actually went. So Peretti needs to be given credit for modern MMA and the UFC aspect, right? So, all right,
Yeah,
moving
there
on
was
to
a really
Bagdasarian.
interesting. Sorry, I didn't
Go
mean to
ahead.
interrupt you. There was a really interesting documentary that came out about a month ago about those early days, heavily featuring you and Monty Cox. I'll have to send you a link. I thought they did a pretty good job. I guess you'll be the judge of that. But they mentioned a guy who became somewhat of a legend during that era. He built up a record of like 160-0 or something, largely in those 8-man tournaments, fighting several times a night. I'll have to look up his name, but it was fascinating. That documentary was largely on Iowa being the first state to do MMA fights, and yeah, your name came up several times. I'll have to send you a link to that.
Well, and if Jeremy Horn wasn't the name that they said had the actual 180 real fights, they Travis Fulton is the guy that they mention all the time,
Yeah,
and that's
that's it.
not. Travis Fulton was fighting guys that were from his gym, his students. He was putting on his own cards and just fighting
That's what they
people and
said. Yeah,
doing works
that's
and
what
all
they
that
said.
shit. Jeremy Horn is the king of fighting on Friday night in Omaha and Saturday night over in Columbus, Ohio, or
Let's
wherever.
go.
He was fighting 2 times in 1 week and did that sort of stuff for years and traveled the country kicking people's asses. Jeremy Horn's the greatest fighter to never win a UFC title, literally. Like that's the guy. That's the real guy. So all right, look, we got to move on to Bagdasarian and Magomedov. 1-0 in the Contender Series for Magomedov. Bagdasarian's 3-2 in the UFC. What's your thoughts, buddy?
Well, it's like I got in the lab over there in Dagestan and I built me a fighter, and his name is Murtazali Magomedov. They just keep turning these guys out like they're coming out of a lab. And yeah, this is your prototypical Eastern European fighter. He opened up at minus 305 on Bet Rivers. He's minus 350 now. Melsik Bagdasarian, he's got that Eastern European blood in him as well. Bagdasarian has some good hands, has very good striking. I think where Murtazali is expected to get him is the wrestling. See if you agree. Murtazali is your prototypical Dagestani guy. He can do it all. So I think where Bagdasarian would probably have a small striking edge, the wrestling is the great equalizer. Look for Murtazali to use his whole arsenal to dominate here, and I like him to get the win over Bagdasarian.
Magomedov by submission or KO. This does not go the distance. What's your thoughts and what's the numbers on that?
Let's look at it here, see what the odds are saying. Yeah, it looks like Bagdasarian by finish is the
Magomedov
finish? Magomedov by finish, rather. Magomedov just by sub is plus 250. Maybe Lee can tell him what it is by finish. Yeah.
So you're saying it's...
Yeah.
So, and by submission, Magomedov by submission is... He's not favored to win by submission?
No, they're saying it's more likely he wins by knockout. The fight as a whole is minus 210 not to go the distance.
Okay, so Magomedov is 5-0 on the ground. Bagdasarian is 0-2 on the ground. If I'm an odds guy, I'm taking that all day, that Magomedov wins by submission, right?
Yep. It's certainly, I would be more comfortable just taking him to win by finish, but you're definitely getting more bang for your buck on the submission there.
Yeah, who wants to be comfortable, Josh? Fuck comfort.
I'm sitting in a hospital halfway house with a do-rag on, crippled in bed, Pat. I certainly don't want to be comfortable.
What is a beat-in like in a Jewish biker gang?
I'm sorry, what was that again, Mr. Militech?
What is the beat-in like when they beat you into the gang?
The beat-in is
Jewish
good. Yeah,
gang? Is that where you have to?
Good.
Is that?
Yeah.
What's that look like?
We just we get and remember I'm allowed to make these jokes because I am one of the chosen people. So yeah, we get me
Chosen.
and the two
You're
others.
one of the chosen people. You're one of the chosen
exactly.
people.
The nickname exists for a reason, Pat. I've been promised UFC betting for the past 5,000 years. So basically what they do is they take me and the other recruits that they're patching in, and they get us all in a circle, and they throw a penny in the middle and watch us fight to the death. So the winner gets paid.
Holy dear God, help us. Help us. Oh, dear. All right, where the fuck were we at? All right, Magomedov by submission. That's where I'm going. All right. Anyway. All right, moving on to Christian Rodriguez and Hyder Amel. Amel 3-2 in the UFC. Rodriguez 5-4. Both have had above their skill level and above their record generally. I mean, they've had above normal competition in their careers. So both have kind of earned the right to be here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it kind of speaks to the strength of the card that Hyder Amel is our co-main event, but we just had one of the biggest cards ever, so that's fine. And I think Christian Rodriguez might be a little bit of a gift here. We're talking about a guy that opened up at minus 150. He's minus 200 now. Those odds have essentially, as far as being a favorite, have doubled. So I like that. So give me Rodriguez here. There's a lot to like about Rodriguez. He seems to be fairly technical, fairly steady, kind of slightly above average in most areas. And Hyder Amel has certainly looked disappointing at times. I think when you look at these guys, I'd have Christian Rodriguez a whole level above Hyder Amel in most things. So at minus 195, Christian Rodriguez is one of my more confident bets. This isn't a huge betting card for me. I don't see a ton of value, but Rodriguez would probably be in my top 3 fighters that I like to win. And at the price of minus 190, yeah, I like it.
Okay, I'm rolling with you on Rodriguez as well. I give him the edge in this fight. Pretty balanced skill sets. So yeah, I'm gonna go with you on that. All right, Kutilaba against Navajo Sterling. Sterling doing really well, man. 9-0, 4-0 in the UFC. The guy has performed, I think, above considering his experience. But he's also fought guys for the most part above his record, his experience, all these things, and still remained unbeaten. This guy steps up to the plate. So, what's your thoughts on these two?
Yeah, I apologize. This is a somewhat more respectable co-main event. The previous fight was the co-main event. Navajo Sterling, man, this guy comes from the Australian, New Zealand legendary gyms there. He's been around for a while, similar to how, I don't know, maybe a Robbie Lawler or a Jens Pulver was just the new kid for a while that you guys are like, wait till you see this kid. Well, he's here now. He's 4-0 or 5-0 in the UFC and is steadily working his way up to contender status. Kutalaba is getting older, but he can still shock us. I think Kutalaba is the perfect test for Navajo here. Give me Navajo. I think that he rolls. I actually like that Navajo's been going to decision a lot and then finally got the big finish he's been looking for. That means he's not pushing things. I like Navajo. I've seen so many of these young kids come up, get thrown in the fire too quick. I think they've actually done a decent job slowly building up Navajo Sterling here. I like him to roll. Kudelaba will by far be the biggest scalp on his resume so far. Give me Navajo Sterling. I don't know if he gets a finish or not. I would have, yeah, that's hard. But at -340 at your co-main event, Navajo Sterling rolls and continues to build up the hype around it.
I will agree with you. Navajo Sterling gets the edge in my book and steps up to the plate once again with limited experience. Limited experience. So okay, main event: Kape versus Horiguchi. Man, this could be fireworks. I think it's almost guaranteed
How is it
fireworks.
not? How is it
Yeah,
not?
and Horiguchi, at 14-1 in Ryzen and 9-1 in the UFC. This guy has proven his mettle, and Japanese fighters, by just the way that, I don't know if it's society over there or whatever, just throughout all the years, even when I was fighting, Japanese fighters are not powerful athletes. They're technical athletes, very tricky. They're very cerebral. Horiguchi is both pretty freaking strong, a physical guy, and he's got the intellectual side as well. That's why his record is so good. Overall record at 36-5. This guy's dangerous, but Cape at 14-0 in the KO area. I mean, the guy's got massive power. This is going to be a hell of a fight, dude.
It absolutely is. You took the words right out of my mouth with Horiguchi there. He's a unicorn for Asian fighters. You're exactly right, and I thought it was well said, politically correct for the most part. And I'm on the same boat. These Asian fighters, usually their strengths are technical, smart, cage IQ, can be a little underwhelming when it comes to power and wrestling. They got the speed. They'll always have you beat on speed. Horiguchi, and the older he gets, the better he gets. Japanese don't crack, apparently. Horiguchi has power. He has phenomenal wrestling. He dominated one of my Dagestani, literally a kid that Khabib has had under his wing since he was 3 years old, and Tagir Ulanbekov. Horiguchi took him to school. I love Horiguchi. He's bounced from division to division. This new run on the UFC, I believe he's 3-0. He's undefeated. If he beats Kape, this is for a title shot, Pat. This is very clearly winner of this gets a shot at Joshua Van for the title. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but these two fought already in Rizin, and Horiguchi got the best of him, I believe. Maybe Lee can give us that. So you said, is there any way that it isn't fireworks? Kape, when he first came in the UFC, was still finding himself. He had several boring fights. The last 3 or 4 have been far from boring. He's finishing. He's confident. Knock on wood, I don't want to be a wet blanket, but it is. I do worry about, since these two have fought, that Kape is a little more timid. But Kape has been on such a roll. his odds have gone from -185 to -150. Oh, shit, this fight's hard. I want to get your take first, Pat, and then I'm going to pick a winner.
I have to go with Horiguchi in this one. His experience, his ability to strike, his ability to grapple, the quality of opponents he's gone against, all those things. And I'm not taking anything against Manel. I mean, he's fought a very, very, killer's row of athletes, but Horiguchi is just, I just think he's too complete. I think he gives Kape some serious problems in this fight, and I'm going with Horiguchi.
I'm going to narrowly lean Horiguchi as well. I don't think Kape's really built for 5 rounds, so I'm going to say Horiguchi finds a finish in the 3rd round. Let's just give him I'll give him a technical knockout in the 3rd round. Yeah, I think this is fantastic matchmaking because I think both Horiguchi and Manel Kape have never looked better. So as a fan, I'm very excited about this fight. As a bettor, it has me pulling my hair out a little bit, but I'm going to lean Horiguchi.
All right, so you have a chance now at winning some Diamine Inc. and some Cell Saviors products. I'm going Horiguchi, 4th round submission, that he pulls it out, gets it done on the ground, so I'm going with Horiguchi. So anybody out there that wants to pick the winner, the round and the way that it ends can win free Diamine Inc. and Cell Saviors products. So make sure you do that. And Josh, do you have anything to say before we close out on this Saturday morning?
No, this has been an experience. I will have my webcam up and working next week as I am in post-surgery. To whatever God you pray to, I would certainly appreciate prayers as I go in for my first major surgery ever here on Monday. I will be fine. I have a fantastic surgeon, one of the best in the country, and it's just a couple several broken bones in my feet. I will be fine, but thoughts and prayers are appreciated as Monday afternoon I go under the knife.
Yeah, we say some prayers for you, Josh, and heal up quickly, get through surgery, and we look forward to getting you back as soon as possible. So anybody out there that's watching the show that comes across it, like, share, and subscribe MMA Mobsters, please. And again, pick your winners to win some free Diamine and Cell Saviors. And so for my co-host, Joshua Chauvin, the Chauvin one, I'm Pat Militich saying so long. We'll see you guys next week.
Love you guys. See you next week.